Welcome back to the Mina Show featuring Lenny. Only NFL podcast. One of the hosts thinks the words go like, bark the herald angels sing. That's Lenny! I kind of messed it up. For the audio audience, Lenny is actually on camera. He's rarely on camera, but he wanted to show off his Christmas sweater.
He's looking good. He's looking svelte. He's looking youthful, spry. I like it.
He lost a couple pounds. The vet, he's had to drop a couple, which
Big
tough time of year to do that.
Did he get put on like one of those dog food diets or like only these specific foods? Yeah, those.
Yeah, which has made him really grumpy. Yeah. That's Ben Solak. Also for the audio audience, he's wearing a Christmas sweater that says dad.
Which ironically, we got these for like a joke Christmas card when we just had a dog. It was like dad, mom, and baby, and we had our dog in it. This is not related to my actual human children in the slightest.
Amazing. So today's a little different. We're not doing a Monday night recap winners, although Niners fans, if you're listening to this and you're upset because you want to bask in the glory of the offense, we are talking about the Niners. So it was useful to watch that offensive buzzsaw last night because they've got a great game this week, a meaningful game against the Bears. We're going to talk about what I've deemed to be the meaningful games. So there are games that are meaningful, of course, that we're not discussing, one of which is Steelers-Browns, which with the DK Metcalf suspension got a little bit more interesting.
That's what I'm saying.
Ravens-Packers, I texted you late last night. I can't do this.
It could be potentially Clayton Tune versus Tyler Huntley with massive playoff implications on the line, which if you don't like that, you don't like pro football, all right? That's what we live for. We live for a little Clayton Tune action on Christmas.
Malik Willis, if he plays in this game, I'm picking the Packers. All right, we'll put a pin in that. Malik Willis looked good against Chicago.
Rising free agent Malik Willis, they're saying.
Yeah, this is a meaningful stretch for him personally. Mm-hmm. Packers are already in the playoffs probably. Okay, so but there's a few games. A lot of the playoff field is already set. The NFC South is still up for grabs. AFC is kind of marginal, but it's pretty much set unless the Browns pull off the upset. But seeding matters. The 1 seed is still up for grabs, which is great because it makes a lot of these games still meaningful. And then other teams will want the 2 seed to try to get the divisional round bye or home game. Pardon me. Mm-hmm. I figured we should start with Texans Chargers. So playoff scenario. Spent way too much time on the ESPN playoff calculator. Mm-hmm. Okay. For Houston, they can miss the playoffs if they were to lose out and the Colts win out, which is unlikely. But it's possible. And then if the Jags somehow lost to the Colts, the Texans could actually still win the division. So that is up in the air. The Chargers is less interesting. It's more about seeding. Although if Denver, they actually could beat. I'm wrong. They can win the division if they beat Denver in week 18.
So long as they win this game against the
Texans. So long as they win this game. Sorry. It is meaningful. I don't know why I said that. So this game matters for both sides. Even if Denver beats Kansas City, as they likely will, week 18 could be a really big game for LA, assuming they win this. So both teams have strong incentive. You have the Texans. I have the Chargers. This is the battle of the bad offensive lines, although Texans? You can go first on the Texans. What is your key for this one?
Yeah, my key is how well CJ Stroud continues to play against pressure. And if that continues in this game for the Chargers, a lot has been written and said, a lot of it by me, about Justin Herbert against pressure right now, and deservedly so. He's been lights out. However, since CJ Stroud came back from injuries, this is the last 4 weeks since week 13, he is second EPA per dropback when pressured. He has a positive EPA per dropback when pressured, which is preposterous. He's third in success rate. He is fifth in CPOE. All those numbers, he's still top 10 in over the course of the season. Stroud looks very, very much so like 2023 Stroud, not so much 2024 Stroud. 24 Stroud was like, this guy's uncomfortable in the offense. He does not like being in the pocket. This version of Stroud right now is much more so like, I'm unlocked. Like, I get to grip and rip it. I get to make aggressive throws. I will throw contested balls. Like, I trust my receivers and what have you. The system isn't nearly as good as 23 in the ancillary cast, but in general, the guy who we all kind of fell in love with that rookie year, he feels very much so back in terms of play style and disposition. Now, the Chargers, very sneakily, become a good pressure team.
This is my key for the Chargers. So can I jump in here?
Please, go ahead.
Since week 8, 4th in pressure rate with a 4-man rush. Week 8 is when they did the trade. The Gilman Owe trade is like, ultimately probably what, the Ravens aren't going to be in the playoffs. One of the more interesting, like, football, just pure football trades of the season because both teams got better from it.
And it's very funny because obviously the connection between the teams, right? Joe Ortiz is from the Ravens front office of the Harbaugh brothers. It feels very much so like, listen,
Yeah,
You know,
you need this, we
a
need
lot of
this.
times with trades, like I'm trying to get
Yeah.
off from you, and like no, I
No,
need a
it
fourth. This
wasn't
was
like
like,
that at all,
let me
yeah.
help you. I
Like,
got some sugar. You
yeah.
got some firewood. Let's survive the Oregon Trail
It
together.
really worked, and I know for Ravens fans, it must be infuriating because OA has been better with the Chargers than he was with the Ravens, and also the
Yep.
Ravens really don't have much of a pass rush. But it's not like he was this guy, and some of it might be like scheme related a little. I think a decent amount of it is actually what they're asking out of their pass rushers. But in any case, back to the Chargers. Yeah, so since that trade, they've been really good. Sometimes they'll put him, Mack, and Thule on the field together on pass rush downs, and that's been really effective. The four-man rush matters, I would argue, because one of the most shocking developments of 2025 is the Houston Texans figured out how to pick up blitzes.
I never doubted. I held my stock for so long. I promise I did.
Now, wait, you know what though? You do not take that. I'm trying to think who are they most likely to match up in the playoffs. I just feel like I guess there's not who's a great pass rush team.
Denver.
Well, this is a good test. This is a good test because I think the other thing I'll say about the Texans offense, you talked about how good they are under pressure. The Charger defense is a lot better at defending outside the numbers in the middle of the field. Throws to the middle of the field, they are 23rd in success rate. On in-breakers, they're also 23rd in success rate. Those are basically what CJ Stroud measures in. I like Cam Hart, who's, I guess he's their biggest corner. I assume he's going to be on Collins a fair amount. I still don't love him against Nico Collins on crossers and posts and whatnot. So,
which that's the
to
sort
me,
of
it's the
guy that
pass
he
rush.
tends to do the best at. Cam Hart, he's really physical. Like he has his good days against his T. Higgins and the George Pickens. Like that's kind of where he's at his best. I love a Cam Hart. I'm excited about a Cam Hart. This is a tricky matchup for the Chargers though, because Cam Hart is like, they have Cam Hart on the roster to be like, all right, and when we need to go big, we have Cam Hart, and they have Benjamin St. Juste as well, but he's generally not been like, kind of like the caliber of corner they were hoping for. The problem is the Texans could just go big on you and then go big on you again and then go big on you again. Like Tarheeb Still and Dante Jackson are in a really bad spot against the Xavier Hutchinsons and the Jaden Higgins of the world, right? Like that's the thing about the Texans being so supersized is even if you feel like, oh, we have a good physical matchup here at corner, they can get to wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, tight end 1, and still be successful. If you look at how this Texans passing offense has succeeded, it's funny. They're one of these teams that's become, play action heavy and heavy personnel heavy, but they still throw it like more short and intermediate. They just don't have without Tank Dell, without Christian Kirk kind of having speed. They don't really have like the deep element in the team. Obviously Nico is still so good that way, but they're using him more, like you said, on slants and digs. And so if you are the Chargers, you can, I think, be really aggressive, packing the intermediate zones, asking your safeties to step down, drill down Tony Jefferson, trigger and fire, Elijah Molden, trigger and fire. And we're gonna try to hit you over the middle, and then you're daring the Texans and Stroud and Nico to beat you deep. And now it becomes a 3 deep balls. Do you connect on 2 of them? Sort of a game. I think that's probably where you end up with the Chargers coverage, because then CJ has to hold the ball for a while, and you like your pass rush's ability against this offensive line.
Yeah. Wow, it's funny. I just looked up Woody Marks's availability just to confirm he's still uncertain for this game. And I learned his actual name is Jacavius. Did you know that?
Yep. Yeah. Which, these are the weird thing. Like during the draft process, you just learn everybody's real name and all their nicknames.
Okay. Jacavius DeQuain. Because Woody doesn't, there's no really.
Yeah. But I think when your first name is Jacavius, they're looking for something to call you that's not Jacavius, and you end up getting a Woody. Right?
I love Woody as a nickname. Yeah. It's such I guess I worked with Woody Page forever. Yeah.
My sense on the Woody Marks, because a lot of people thought Marks would go against the Raiders and he didn't. My sense was that he didn't go against the Raiders such that they'd be very confident in his health for this game. Yeah.
Yeah. I do think it's important that they can, with the Chargers, they're gettable on the ground. I don't think you're going to get many explosive runs per se, but you want to be able to run on 3rd and short and whatnot. So that's something to keep an eye on. The flip side, it always comes down to the same stuff, right? Justin Herbert against the Cowboys was both a referendum on how bad the Cowboys defense is. And I think it took people a second to accept that they weren't fixed at all. And that continues. But also, he was just unbelievable in that game, lights out, making some of the just most ridiculous throws you'll see.
Yeah, you absolutely cannot take a passing game against the Cowboys defense seriously. We have seen over the course of the year, given how quarterbacks have performed against them, that it is aberrative. It is not reflective of how good they are. With that said, holy Moses, that was sick. It just versus pressure, 9 for 11, versus blitz, 13 for 17, 0 to 9 yards, hit 2 incompletions. Down the field, he was 8 for 10. Just screw you for 4 quarters. Just in your face, in your mouth for 4 quarters. It was unbelievable.
They blitzed him so much, which like is so sad. If you have to, but also like if you have to blitz the Chargers, you're not a good, like that's a very sad state of affairs for your defense. The Texans won't blitz. Texans don't have to blitz. The Texans are going to show up and kick ass. And that worries me. The Chargers against Dallas, they like tried out, they had a lot of jumbo. They were like they really leaned into pass protection for Herbert, which is fine. And you could take a similar approach against the Houston Texans. But the problem is if you're only sending a couple, 2 or 3 pass catchers out there, they'll just lock him down. I do not have I'm just very skeptical about the Chargers offense here.
Yeah, if you look at how opposing offenses have played the Texans, like the Texans aren't actually very high this year in overall team pressure rate. They're right around league average, and it's because the ball comes out really, really fast, right? That's people like the people are so scared of the pass rush that they try to get to the quick game. Ball's out in 2.92 seconds against the Texans defense, the 8th fastest. 45% of dropbacks under 2.5 seconds, which is anecdotally what we'd call quick game, is right everything under 2.5. That's the 6th highest rate, and so this is actually the sort of game that I think you want to have 4 in the concept, 5 in the concept, a little bit more. Give Herbert the ability to pre-snap, figure out where the soft spot is in the zone, where the cornerback's aligned. I'm going to take my quick Ladd throws. I'm going to take my quick Keenan Allen throws. And we're going to be incremental. That's how we're going to beat the pass rush. Herbert, for as wonderful as he is and how tremendous that Cowboys game was, Herbert will never, ever, ever say die if you don't tell him to, right? And so if you're saying, Herbert, we got to be able to beat him deep, we got to be able to rip chunk plays, like you're going to have to hold on to the football. Justin Herbert, with like his arm falling off on one leg, like looking like the guy from Monty Python, will be like, yes, sir, right? And he'll be trying to shoot the ball down the field, and he'll just be taking too many shots. He's been contacted 193 times this season. It's more than 30 more than second place, right? And so you have to a little bit protect the guy from himself, protect the line from the pass rush, and be willing to be a quick distribution offense in this one relative to some of your previous game plans.
Every time I'm looking at a matchup with the Houston Texans, I'm just trying to come up with something. Like, what is the weakness on this team? What works against this team? What is effective? And it's funny because the last 2 years, it was always scrambling quarterbacks. So I'd always go back to the well on that, like, hey, you can scramble on them. But they've gotten better against that. It's still because of the style that they play, which is so much like man coverage and quarter. There's still opportunities to scramble, but it's tough, Ben. Like I don't look at this roster depth chart and who are you, if you're an offensive coordinator, who are you circling? Like, who are you attacking? Like, is there anyone that you feel comfortable with if you're the Chargers saying we want to get this matchup?
So because of the injuries at safety, you're seeing Miles Bryant play a decent bit, and they try to hide Miles Bryant and that nickel spot, that weak safety spot. That's a spot where you've seen teams be able to complete in man coverage, right? So if you end up getting Ladd on him because you're motioning smart and you're getting Ladd in the slot there in man coverage, or if you get Ronde Gadsden, I think that's your matchup. Henry To'oTo'o is the other player. He's linebacker 2 for them. You've seen the Texans give up a lot of explosive catches to running backs this year.
Yeah.
And again, like it's much like the scrambling thing where the season-long numbers, they're fine against scrambling. They're fine against running back targets. On like when you get into the route, when you get into the scramble, they actually give up a lot of explosives. It's just they're getting so many sacks, they're getting so many stops. You don't get to these plays very often, but you will see explosive running back completions because of To'oTo'o, who's a guy you can get after in coverage. And so to me, Greg Roman, theoretically tremendous running game designer, which I think like he's a very good one. I think sometimes he gets a little bit too much gas, but in general, very good running game designer. They're going to give you 4 down fronts. You're going to get your 21, 22 personnel stuff. You're going to get Scott Matlock in there. You're going to get Will Dissly in there. This is your like fever dream game for moving them off the ball. And then you try to get the play action pass and isolate some of those players, right? Some of those second level guys who are going to be trying to fit really hard against the run. Then you can get after them in the play action pass and fight explosive that way.
Yeah, I just wanted to double check while you're talking, but the Genti deep ball against the Raiders, who almost beat them, was against To'oTo'o, who was...
Yeah, and they got to empty, and Genti's lined up as a wide receiver 1. Like, that's just, you have to get to some of these, like, specific beaters against this.
I think that's your point. Like, you're right. They sent a 5-man pressure, and they're playing man. I mean, that's not, I think if the Texans were to do it all over again, you gotta. Yeah.
It's a matter of, like, when you get it, you have to hit it. It's got to be explosive. If you miss them, the Texans are just going to anaconda you. They're going to give you 2 or 3 shots a game. That's it.
I forgot this was 3rd and 6. Oh my God, he just ran right by him, too. Whew,
yeah,
good ball.
And then tracked it, and then survived the sideline. Turns out Ashton Genti, and stick with me here, might not be terrible.
interesting that they decided to use him this way now in week 17 or 16.
There's a lot about the Raiders offense that is making a lot
Jack
more
Besh.
intuitive sense. Yeah, oh my dude, the Jack Besh thing is driving me up the wall. But yes, they are much more intuitive of an offense since the offensive coordinator change.
All right. So I'm gonna go Texans here.
Mhm.
Wow, the Chargers are favored.
Yeah,
It's in
at
LA.
home, but also Chargers home, question mark. Not really as much of an impact as it typically is.
Yeah,
Um,
I just think we were talking about like how you could play this Texas defense. That's the best unit on the field, and I like the Chargers defense, but I really love what I've seen from Houston over the last few weeks. I know there were some ups and downs last week against it was kind of a weird game against the Raiders, but I do think to our earlier discussion, there's a lot of matchup advantages in this one that they can take advantage of.
yeah, I think I lean Chargers. I just think that Justin Herbert's playing it at unparalleled, like just quarterback one level right now. Like I think he's got a legitimate MVP case if they're able to beat the Texans to beat the Broncos here. Right, he's been so good against pressure. They've generally played average pressure teams that got a blitz. Now it's the Texans and the Broncos. It's like, hey, you can do it against these guys. You can do it against anybody. And worth noting, Aziz Al-Shaair, Pro Bowler, did miss this game against the Raiders last week with an ankle. Expected to be back, much like
Yeah,
Woody
I think he's
Marks.
playing in the
Yeah.
yeah.
So I lean Chargers. I do like, Stingley's got an oblique he's playing through. The Texans are pretty like, kind of like late season banged up right now where you're just like everybody's a little bit hurt. So I lean Chargers, but this is gonna be close.
Can't you just see though this with being like we open NGS 75% of the way through the game and Justin Herbert's being pressured on 55% of
Yeah.
dropbacks. Like
And it's worth remembering the last time he played this Texans defense, obviously 4 sacks, 4 interceptions. This was the postseason game that everybody watched and formed a lot of opinions off of. That's why I say like Herbert will never say die, right? If they're down by 14, he'll start shooting, right? If you throw 6 picks, he doesn't care. Like that's just kind of how he's coded. And so you have to keep this on a neutral script. Running game for the Chargers extremely important.
Yeah, I don't know. Um Texans offensive line, I have some marginal confidence in.
Yeah. The winner of this game is like the official, this is the dark horse AFC team, right? It's going to be exciting.
All right. So we alluded to Ravens Packers. It's good that we're split. That one is basically impossible to talk about at the moment because we don't know who's playing quarterback for either team. For the Ravens, it's probably going to be Tyler Huntley, given the way they were talking about Lamar's injury during the game, where he the many shots of him in unbelievable pain and the reports that he could barely get down the stairs suggest to me that he's not going to play in this one. And might be shut down for the season. We shall see, but he might play. I don't know. I mean, obviously, as we discussed, if Pittsburgh loses to Cleveland, then the Ravens still have something to play for because then Week 18 becomes it. The Packers, both so Jordan Love entered concussion protocol, took a nasty hit when they were playing the Bears. Malik Willis was very good, but he hurt his shoulder. So I'll just be real quick because we're going to do picks at the end. If it ends up being Tyler Huntley and the Ravens versus Malik Willis and the Packers, I'll probably go. So, by the way, the stakes for the Packers there actually are some stakes, which is that if they win out and the Bears lose to the Niners, we're going to talk about that game, and the Lions, they win the division.
Yep.
So there's still some which is totally possible. Those are two good teams. Probably I would go Packers if Willis plays.
I lean Packers if Willis plays. I also like even if Clayton Tune plays. There's a lot about Matt LaFleur's warts. There's a lot about Matt LaFleur's warts that have been frustrating this year. But one of his strengths is kind of the immunity to quarterback 2, quarterback 3. Like a one-off, 1-week game plan to make a random quarterback work.
But Tune is so like.
What you know, like a Clayton Tune?
No,
like a 5th round pick for the Arizona Cardinals out of Houston in 2023. I'm all the Clayton
not an
Tune
athlete.
I have.
Not like Willis. Not it's
not an athlete. Ridiculous. White Vic, here he comes.
Okay. Pittsburgh, Cleveland. So I'll pick Baltimore, but obviously that's all very conditional. Green Bay. Pittsburgh, Cleveland. The DK injury does make it interesting because DK is their answer against man coverage, which is what the Browns want to play. DK's target share on throws over 10 yards this year is like close to 40%.
Yeah, Kenny Gainwell might start
Um,
infringing on those routes though, given the
Kenny
downfield
Gainwell,
performance.
it delivered me to a fantasy championship. I love that man. There was no easier choice than starting Kenny Gainwell with Aaron Rodgers week after week.
Do you think Jalen Warren sits at home and he's like, man, behind Najee Harris as the receiving back for all those years, it sucked. I'm a
Here
third
comes
down guy,
Kenny.
whatever. We finally get a quarterback who's like obsessed with the third down back. Najee leaves. I'm now early down guy, and Kenny Gainwell's
Catch of
producing
the
like this.
year. Great play. He's always been good. I'll still pick Pittsburgh because I think the Steelers defense has improved enough for me to have confidence in them against the Browns offense based on what we saw last week. But no DK makes this a little touchier. That's all I'll
Yeah.
say.
No, DK makes it. I very much agree. I was 100% ready to be there on Browns. And then Charles McDonald, our buddy from Yahoo, reminded me no Quinshon Judkins in this game for the
Yeah.
Browns. And being able to grind out the running game has been
Against
integral for the Browns. Judkins has been such a good player for them, rookie running back once he got onboarded. Their inability, I think, to be physical and win that way in the running game is kind of disqualifying for the offense. I will say, Shedeur, I found the stat this week. Shedeur Sanders on screen passes this year is averaging 1.23 EPA per dropback.
totally believe it.
Yeah,
They were. Yeah, sorry.
he's 11 for 16 for 210 yards, 6 first downs, and a touchdown on screens. It's the greatest screen pass season pretty much in history in terms
This
of
is why
EPA.
it drives me crazy when people complain about the Browns play calling. I'm like, I watch this team every week, and they are finding ways to get bullshit yards constantly.
It is the most blood from a stone offense I've ever seen. It's worth remembering they have they don't have real receivers, right?
Yeah,
like Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, Isaiah Bond. Like there's not a complete player in that receiver room. They got a third round rookie tight end with Duck Feet at a Bowling Green who's going to have 1,000 receivers.
The goat.
The goat.
You do never disparage Harold Fannin Jr. on this podcast.
I love Harold Fannin. He is such a delight. He's so fun to watch.
That guy.
They got no good tackle play. Like they should score 0 offensive points a game, and they had 20 on the Bills. There's something.
Put a pin in that because I have some notes on that for when the Eagles for the Bills and some of the things I saw from that defense in that one. All right, let's do Seahawks Panthers. So stakes, not really for Carolina because assuming Tampa beats Miami, then Week 18 is for all the marbles. Now Tampa could very well lose to Miami. Tampa loses all kinds of dumb games, and then this game would matter. But actually, I don't think it would still. Anyways, Seattle, it definitely matters because they're still fighting for the 1 seed. If Seattle wins both games, it's over. They get San Francisco Week 18. If Seattle loses one of them, then either San Francisco, Chicago, or LA, depending on the other results, can all jump. The 1 seed is very much up in the air in both conferences, which is very fun. So Seattle has to win this game. I'll go first here because I'm on Carolina, and this was hard, man. I was. Seattle has a lot of matchup advantages against Carolina, both sides of the ball. I went with the Carolina passing attack. So I thought Bryce Young was excellent against Tampa. A really good game. Tedero McMillan was also phenomenal. Offensive player of the year, Tedero McMillan.
Mm-hmm.
Since week 8, on third down, which he overwhelmingly targets McMillan, by the way. Bryce, since week 8, so this is a pretty long time. Bryce is 5th in QBR, 2nd in precision pass rate, 4th in time to throw. That's a huge part of how they've won the games that they've won. And people will point to that and say, is that sustainable? Are they winning too much on third down or fourth down in some cases? But it's enough of a sample size now to where I feel confident that his connection with McMillan and Coker to a slightly lesser degree is a big part of what's powering that third down success. Watching him against the Bucs, he's so confident throwing to Tedero. And I think for Seattle, you're probably looking at Woolen, who got a little banged up, but I think is going to play as that matchup.
Yeah,
so
that's my key is the specific how corner wise can you and will you play Tedero McMillan, especially if Woolen's less than 100%.
Because Coker's in the slot, so Witherspoon, Josh Jobe, the Panthers don't really have a third receiver like that. So
they're gonna try to do the yak stuff with the backs and the tight ends. Seahawks are unbelievable tackling. Like it's gotta be McMillan.
It's really yes. So I wrote down can Bryce Young and Tedero McMillan keep it up on third down. To me, that's their best chance.
And to that third down point, they like, offensive staffs always kind of like divvy up the work, and there's like a red zone guy and there's a third down guy. Whoever the third down guy is for the Panthers, I don't know if it's like Brad, it's like the offensive coordinator. They've got like a passing game specialist, Mike Bersavici. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. They walk out in third down every single week, and their first third down plays are just like all beaters, and they're all great, right? There's like tons of empty one week, and then it's targets to the running back, and it's screens like it was against the Rams, right? They're getting rid of the pressures. They're running like, heavy play action stuff out of pistol on third down. Like they walk out on late downs, and they are very confident they know what you're going to give them versus down and distance, and they're able to get those first few conversions. And like certainly a ton of that is also like Bryce being clutch and Bryce being calm. It's been something from the Alabama days, but they are the like Panthers fans, I think, get frustrated because they don't get talked about a lot in the national media. One of the reasons why they're hard to talk about is because they're very chameleon-y in terms of how they win offensively week over week. And so it's hard to sit here on a podcast or an article and be like, this is what the Panthers are doing.
I know.
Because they changed their stripes.
I know, because everybody goes back to the Packers game when they ran on them, right?
Yeah.
But they really aren't a great running team. They sometimes they are, like, to your point, like every like 6 games it's like, whoa, Rico Dowdle's unstoppable, and then like 2 games is like nothing, like, sub 40% success rate, no explosives. And I think also for Seattle in particular, there's a reason why the passing game is what jumps out. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll have one of those weird out of nowhere run game again, not out of nowhere, but I think if I'm Carolina, like I was having trouble like isolating, like, what is it? I went back to the Rams game as well and watched some of Bryce's best, because Bryce was also very good in that game. And I felt like, okay, if I'm Carolina, looking at what are they doing well in these big wins, what translates to the Seahawks game, that matchup is the one that has to pay dividends.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, benefit for Carolina, Seattle's good, so you're probably going to play well. It's a good team. They have that hilarious, like, we only are very good against good teams.
Yeah.
The other side of the ball, I struggled. I'm this Carolina defense. I know Sam Darnold's been really up and down, but the Carolina defense is really, the pass defense in particular, is not good.
The one thing I did want to say about Panthers offense, like a lot of the running game stuff, they've had like 11 different offensive line combinations, ton of guys moving around. They've had a few consistent weeks, and I just saw this like doing research for the pod 15 minutes beforehand. Robert Hunt might practice this week. Robert Hunt, who had a biceps injury in like week 1 or week 2, is apparently like, and Canal said like, yeah, we've been talking about this for weeks. This is not like like the playoffs. Like, no, like he's recovering, and Robert Hunt is their most impactful run blocker there at the right guard spot. Hunt back with now Mays at center. Damian Lewis has been playing great ball at left guard, and then the 2 tackles have been both solid in running game this year. Like, Panthers, if you want me to, like, I will take the Panthers remarkably more seriously in the NFC playoffs if Robert Hunt is playing in that wild card game against whoever you're playing. Like, this is a real a skill tipping player. So yeah, Panthers running game can improve.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, Seattle offensively, I think you'd really like to see this be like a settle down game for Sam Darnold.
I sure would like to see a settle. Yes, like I'm praying we get one before January.
Through the air, I think the Panthers' run defense is better than pass defense. The pass rush is just not. Great news. Neither is the Bucs, guys. But I think Nick Scorton, the rookie, has shown some flashes, but it's still not a strength of theirs. I think the tight ends in Seattle could be big in this one. Carolina struggles to defend tight ends.
Yeah.
Not to say that JSN, because it's interesting. The Panthers obviously have JC Horn, who's very good, but there's
Mike Jackson.
Pardon?
Mike Jackson.
Mike Jackson also, right, yeah.
Yeah.
The Panthers it's funny because they're 32nd in DVOA against number 1 wide receivers. And I talked to Aaron Schatz, who's obviously that's his stat, and he was explaining how like it's actually pretty hard to, like, that doesn't mean their number 1 corner isn't playing well. A lot of that is because different teams approach that matchup differently. So you'd look at that, you'd think Seattle JSN could have a big game, and it's entirely possible. I mean, I could see JSN in the slot a lot on this one. I would do that. But I feel like the tight ends in Seattle could also eat, because I've just seen Carolina get chewed up. The safeties really struggle. So
yeah, and Mike Jackson and JC Horn are both guys who I think win with their length and win with their physicality, and they match up better into physical receivers. Jason can run away from both those players, and if you're not able to get hands on him in the line of scrimmage, I think they're both at a disadvantage. And the Seahawks are so good at playing hide and seek with JSN. They were,
by the way, oh my God, they were so good at that in the Rams game, because the Rams were obviously they shut him down the first half. And again, credit to Clint Kubiak. Some of the stuff they were doing to try to get JSN involved in the offense, putting him in the backfield, putting him in motion, putting him in, like, really, really creative, and I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. Sorry.
Clint Kubiak feels to me like the most obvious, like, why are we not just like sprinting to the sky as the head coach hire? Like, and I understand that there's been enough Shanahan and McVay missteps that we've been burned enough to like not think, oh, it's just an automatic plug and chug, it's going to be good. But like Kubiak so clearly gets it, from like the Derek Carr Saints days and how that offense worked, to then dealing with him there, the wide receiver injuries and the line injuries there, now to Seattle and hiding the right guard spot and dealing with Sam now that Sam's losing his mind for the second half of the season. No more Elijah Arroyo, adding Rashid Shaheed, teams to take away JSN. Like, this guy just does not stop having answers. I stand in awe of Clint Kubiak's season. I very strongly agree about the Rams game.
Really quickly, because I want to correct myself. If Carolina wins this and Tampa loses to Miami, Carolina wins the division irrespective of, because I was on the playoff
because they just have the record advantage,
because they have they're 9-8 and Tampa would finish 7-8. So this game does matter a great deal. I'm sorry, I want to edit that for them.
So yeah, I mean,
I'm taking Seattle, to be clear.
Seattle's a 7-point favorite and deservedly so. I think Seattle wins this game. The thing about like the way the Panthers have kind of taken down the Giants so far has been being able to make your team make a lot of mistakes and then shorten the game and run the football and whatever. Just if you try to do that against Seattle, like, firstly, the defense is going to kick your teeth in, right? You're not going to be able to win the field position battle. They're not going to give you a down. And then secondly, they're going to be able to generate turnovers defensively as well, in a way that I think the Rams and the Packers were not able to, just because they're going to pressure Bryce Young. They're going to get the ball out in the pocket. Like, they've kind of shown this over the course of the year. So I don't think the Panthers' giant killer model works as well for them in this game. With that said, I could see, like, with the way Sam is currently playing, we got to remember, they won that game. They came back 16 points down. Unbelievable. Sam had negative 0.4 EPA per drop back in that game. All right. Like, the Rashid Shaheed punt return touchdown is doing a lot of work right now in the Sam Darnold reclamation second half there. So I still like Sam is on, catastrophe watch in all games for me moving forward.
Yeah. To your point, it's been a type of possession. If you go into all their big wins has been, but I can't. Seattle has had so few games like that.
Yeah, like, if you drag Seattle into that muck, like Myers is so good, McDonald is so good. They're great in fourth quarter situations.
Yeah,
they're gonna
the defensive line in Seattle's playing so well. All right, Eagles Bills, great game. So stakes. The Eagles have a path. So to the 2 seed right now, they're at the 3 seed. If they win out, they have Washington week 18, and the Chicago loses those 2 games that we alluded to, San Francisco. We're going to talk about the Bears game. That a lot of people are watching, like a lot of
leverage.
Seeding hinges on that. So there's an incentive, obviously, because you want the 2 seed, you can get the home game. The Bills can still win the division if the Patriots lose to the Dolphins or the Jets. Unlikely. Is it the Jets then the Dolphins? I think the Patriots are playing the Jets.
Yeah, the Jets week 17, Dolphins week 18. Yeah.
Otherwise it becomes about seeding for Buffalo. Like, do you want the 5 seed to play Pittsburgh? I kind of struggle with that right now, so because it's so much is up in the air with regards to, I mean, I guess if you're in the AFC, most likely the 5 seed is going to get Pittsburgh. It seems like Buffalo killed them, so maybe that is something you want, that matchup. Okay. You can go first here because I've got the Bills and you've got your hometown Birds.
Yeah, go Birds. The key to this game is light boxes. The key to this game is who has the better run defense solutions, right? For the Eagles, they have the highest light box rate, 68%, enormous number. Bills are 6th at 54%. They are 1st and 4th, respectively, in terms of average defenders in the box. Both of these teams are going to give you run looks. All right, we know what the Bills are going to do with that. Here are our 2 tight ends. Here's Reggie Gilliam and James Cook. We have Josh Allen under center. Screw you, buddy, right? And the Eagles, that run game performance against the Bears, Jalen Carter was at less than 100% health. They were on a short week. They've played a ton of snaps. There was a lot of ways to kind of wave that away. But since then, they've played Dallas and they've played the Raiders. And they have not played teams that get heavy on you and try to really lean on you in the running game. And so last time we saw the Eagles face a running game like this running game stylistically, they got walked down the field dramatically at home, right? And this Bills offensive line is of a caliber of that Bears offensive line in that running game. And so it's that side of the ball. And then on the other side of the ball, Eagles offensively went back to being a gun team against the Commanders, a lot of empty sets. That I think was pretty matchup specific. Over the weeks previous, Dallas and then the Raiders, they were showing more under center formations and willingness to run the football between the tackles from under center. They lost a little bit of the jumbo aspect of their offense because Lane Johnson went down and they needed Fred Johnson to actually play right tackle. But the expectation is that Lane Johnson returns to this game and is able to play right tackle. I would expect them to then get very heavily back into their jumbo stuff with Fred Johnson because they don't want to be a 2 tight end team anymore. Their tight ends are just way too thin. Get Fred Johnson on the field, go jumbo, and the Bills are going to give you nickel and they're going to put a defense back in the box. Can you lean on the Bills the way that you've kind of shown over the last month or so? Hey, our running game is starting to improve. We're starting to figure out the Saquon Barkley stuff. So this is a who gets to be bigger than the light boxes game. Who gets to control pace, control tempo, control down and distance, and accordingly control the game.
Yeah, so my key for the Buffalo is you average 6 yards per carry running into light boxes, punish them.
68% light box rate is absurd, dude.
And I went back. I mean, obviously we have the same brain on this because it's very much the story of the game. And I looked at all of the games. You alluded to some of them just to see, has Vic changed it up this year? And he just has not, right? And the Bears game, the Lions game, and the Lions are kind of a different team now, but like overwhelmingly let those guys run into light boxes. It is structurally a big part of how they play. I just think it's not going to work against this Bills team. I mean, that is all they want in the world is for you to not force them to throw the ball. I mean, because you love the Eagles matchups in the pass game here defensively. If Josh Allen is dropping back, that's a good thing for Buffalo, and which is a crazy sentence to say.
But that's a good thing for the Eagles. It's a bad thing for Buffalo.
I'm sorry for the Eagles. Yeah, sorry. So anything you can do. Some notable injuries in this one. We should probably mention Nakobe Dean. Jalen Carter was injured. We'll see. And some of this has to do with how the Eagles regard this game, right? With Lane Johnson and whatnot. But man, Ben, I just feel like they cannot. I know it's like part of the way they play and it's structural, but let's say you're Vic Fangio and say, well, it's cool. We'll just tighten up in the red zone. But then they got Josh Allen.
Right.
Like,
they have a Max in the red zone.
I know. I just feel like you cannot let Buffalo run on you.
So,
and it just feels like a mistake.
Here's what I will say. I will say that light box obviously is independent of the defensive personnel on the field. You can be in base and still have light box theoretically. It's never going to happen, but whatever. The Eagles, primarily a nickel team. Cooper DeJean, we love him in the fit. We love him in the slot. Would not be surprised in this game to see them try to be a base team, right? And since Nakobe Dean came back from injury, you've seen Jahad Campbell kind of like evaporate from the offense a little, or the defense a little bit, excuse me. Nakobe should probably be able to go. The way they talked about him post-game injury was like, he could have probably just gotten a pain shot and get back in there, but we weren't going to do that. Jahad Campbell, Nakobe Dean, and Zach Bond, you have 3 backers, and Jahad can play on the ball as an on-ball Sam, and it's really, 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 really nice to have a Sam linebacker against the Bills because they give you those 5-man surfaces, right, where it's guard, tackle, and then a tight end outside of him, and then a tight end outside of him, and they give you these long offensive line, extensions that you have to deal with. So if you can put a guy square on Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid and say, we can win at the point of attack, and this guy can also leave in coverage, not like, 5 down, bare front, 5 rushers. No, he can be a coverage player for us. That's a big deal. So DeJean kicks outside, plays outside corner, and you get Campbell on the field and you live in base. To me, that's going to be the solution. Now, no Andrew Makuba. It's Reed Blankenship with Marcus Epps. Okay, you win a lot of reps at the first level. Okay, great. The moment James Cook gets to the second level,
you're vulnerable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is the Bills, and I have such admiration for Joe Brady for this. The Bills will run the ball 10 times, 11 times, 12 times. It's 40 yards, 44 yards, but they'll feel it coming. They'll feel the James Cook pop, and then when it pops, bang, all of a sudden they're on you fast.
Also of note for the Bills. I guess we should admit the Eagles much better against the pass statistically than the run. The success rate is pretty low, but again, a lot of that is by design. It's almost like I don't look at them. They're not a bad run defense. It's just the style of play.
Yep.
And they don't give up a lot of explosives, but you point about the safeties is notable. So FTN they track run types, and I checked this because I suspect it would be true, and it is. Eagles defense much better against duo, 3.7 yards per carry, which is low, bottom 10 rate. 5.6 versus outside zone, which is 29th. It's partially a Jordan Davis stat right there, but I wouldn't be surprised if Because the Bills, obviously very strong duo running game, but they'll mix it up week to week, opponents based on opponents. I wouldn't be surprised if they want to um, go with a more outside zone centric game plan for James Cook this week.
Power counter too, right? I want to get to the B gap. I want to get to the C gap. I want to make your linebackers step down fix. For as good as Nakobe is as a player, if it's Nakobe and Reggie Gilliam meeting in the hole, and the winner of that block decides where this run goes, if I'm the Bills, I'm taking that. It's Reggie Gilliam versus Nakobe Dean, you know. And so there's Bills pound for pound, big football team. And if the Eagles are not playing base and they're playing nickel, that Jalix Hunt is out there at edge. Small football team.
Yeah. And look, there's sacrifices that come with that. If the Bills come out, put tight ends on the field, they play more base, they kick Cooper outside. I love Campbell, but he's been gettable in coverage this year. They're going to throw to their tight ends. I think that's fine. I think you just gotta live with that if you're Philadelphia. I really do. I just hate the idea of them just letting Buffalo grind them down and
it's so easy to see the Bills grind, and then they get, oh, you know, 1st and 10 holding penalty, it's 1st and 20, and Vic's like, finally this is it, and they get, you know, okay, 2nd and 15, okay, 3rd and 11, and you get like those 3 or 4 third and longs that are supposed to be the drive stoppers, and then Josh Allen just goes Super Saiyan on you, right? And that's the thing, is like it all makes sense philosophically. Get them to a 3rd and long, and then we'll beat them, until the other guy is the reigning MVP, and then he just decides to drop kick you, 15-yard run, scramble, and like, all right, now the philosophy doesn't work.
It's funny because you talked about both sides of the ball. I think on the flip side, Buffalo, I don't think should play a ton of base in this. I think just because the reason why I'm like, ooh, you can't let Buffalo's run game is amazing. The Eagles' run game has been better, but if I'm Buffalo, I'm betting against that over the passing attack here. There's been encouraging things against the Raiders and the Commanders, in particular, Cowboys. I love how much they're putting Hurts in empty. Got some no huddle. Hurts scrambling out of empty is always significantly better than Hurts in the zone reads and whatnot. They're obviously still trying to run from under center with Saquon. You got your explosive 6 offensive lineman stuff worked against those very bad defenses. It could work against Buffalo, but if I'm the Bills, I'm still comfortable going decently light against this team and daring them to run the football. It's the opposite. I don't feel the same way as I do about Philadelphia.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I think if you look at how the Eagles played like that Chargers game a few weeks ago, and like Jalen did have like a, he had 4 interceptions. He had a much like better day throwing the football in terms of like, their drop back stuff. And okay, they're able to get their AJ Brown isolation shots, and they're able to throw these hitches on the outside. The Bills worked hard this year, cornerback wise, to be able to play a little bit more man coverage, a little bit stickier. And now with Christian Benford and Maxwell Hairston, like, they do kind of have, if the Eagles say, okay, like, we're getting all this zone coverage stuff, let's go 3 by 1, let's force the backside man coverage and then take the advantage of it. The Bills can survive in that a little bit better than they have been able to in seasons past. You never really know when it's AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. Like, they might just decide to win the contested catches on you. Yeah. But the Bills have a little bit more punch there. The thing that always gets the Bills defense, and this goes like, to the Browns game we were talking about, is they're undersized, but they're not fast. Like, usually the exchange is undersized, but we're going to be quick. And it's like, all right.
What if you were small and slow?
Right. And like, just from the safety position and the linebacker position, they don't close very quickly. They don't tackle as well in space as you're accustomed to seeing from a Sean McDermott defense. The Eagles, for as much as the passing game has improved, they still are not great at hitting we get the ball to our athletes in space and let them create after the catch button, right? Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley, screens and swings and flat routes. They have it a couple of times. They can't really make it the main course, and you'd love to see them be able to do that against Buffalo. I remain hesitant that they can.
Yeah, this is a good test though I understand like the stakes for Philadelphia aren't maybe, it's still possible to get that 2 seed, but I would love to see this offense continue showing some growth against this particular defense. Mm-hmm. It would be great if you're an Eagles fan and you watch this team over the last few weeks, if they come out and they can run the ball on Buffalo, because, the 2024 Eagles against the Bills, I'm like, yeah, they grind him down, baby. Mm-hmm. And they're trying stuff, and we'll, I feel like we're going to see a lot of 6 offensive linemen. We're going to see a lot of Hurts under center. Let's, the Bills defense, it's funny too, because like there are games where they show up against the run kind of weirdly. But it feels very matchup specific for them. I would also, by the way, if I'm Philadelphia, I would be a little bit not apprehensive, but I expect McDermott and Babbage to throw a lot at Jalen Hurts in terms of the types of pressures that they use. They use a lot of very creative, and they mix up their pressure calls a lot in different downs. They're not predictable this year,
Mm-hmm.
which of course has been an issue for Hurts at times with simulated pressures and fire zones and whatnot. So could give him some troubles in the passing game. So torn here.
I think Buffalo's got a clear advantage. I think Buffalo's ability.
Yeah,
to run
after
the
this
football.
conversation is like we were
Yeah.
so like Buffalo can run on them, and Philadelphia.
Yeah. The Eagles have the arrow pointed in the right direction offensively to be able to play against a team like Buffalo. Like, they have absolutely improved offensively over the last month. You and I talked after that Chargers game. We were like, listen, that was bad. Directionally, though, some of the choices, like, we seem to be figuring some things out in terms of the scheme. It's just if I had another 3 weeks of data and it was improving over time, I'd be there. I just don't have it yet. And so I lean Buffalo.
I'm such a believer in this Eagles defense. This is kind of, it's weird because the Bills, every Bills game is like, can they stop the run? And it is, they might have, along with Chicago's is like the second best rushing attack in football also. So it's just a difficult matchup for them. They could absolutely win this game if they are able to continue running the ball the way that they have. But like you said, it's more wait and see with Philadelphia or with Buffalo. Yeah. We know what this run game is.
It's a 1.5 point line. It's very close. Whenever it's games like this, I always ask myself, okay, like Bills down 14 in the second half. What do you think happens? Like, what do you trust? And then if you flip it, other direction, Eagles down 14 and a half. What do you think is going to happen? What do you trust? Like, the Bills just have a lot more scripts where they're able to win this thing versus the Eagles. It's got to follow a particular path.
Of note, Jake Elliott.
Nah, Jake Elliott's never missed a kick. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
It's the combination of the Jake Elliott and then the tush push not working or being an issue. That's another thing. That's a crazy question. Okay. Who do you trust on 4th and short more? The Philadelphia Eagles or the Buffalo Bills?
That's a very good question. Bills, right? Like, for sure Bills. Just because, like, what? And, like, the Eagles defense isn't particularly good against sneaks, which always has been very funny to me. You think that, like, they know what is the worst thing to deal with. So Bills for sure. And then, but kicker wise, like, it's Elliott who's in a bad spot right now. And then who's kicking right now for the Bills?
Prater, right?
Isn't Prater down? They had somebody, they Badgley in. They had Badgley in.
Badgley.
No one's
that's bad too. Yes. Yeah. We're going to see a lot of 4th downs.
What's the weather in Buffalo? It's Tuesday. I haven't even looked at my weather reports yet. This is tough.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to stick with Buffalo.
Oh, definite snow showers. Oh, slop ball. I'm thrilled.
All right. Bears-Niners. So the Chicago Bears, as we alluded to, the division is still up for grabs. If Green Bay wins both, they have to win at least one of the games. And they have the Lions. Lions would love nothing more than to be a spoiler for the Bears in Week 18. And then the 1 seed is also, if Seattle loses one, they win out. Of course, the Niners can win out and get the 1 seed, even if both teams win. So point is, a lot to play for here. The Niners. So the Niners want to win out too. Big deal here. Big game. You can go first here. You're on the Bears. I'm on the Niners. I'm calling this game the Niners versus the old Niners.
Yeah. Just because of how the offense
offensively, it's like Kyle Shanahan facing like the ghost of Kyle Shanahan's past.
It really is, like, in terms of like offensive play callers who I'm seated for. Like, this is as special as it gets. The key for the Bears is, listen, you're averaging over a turnover, a takeaway per game. Let's get 3 in this one. Let's get 4. We ain't getting stops. All right. Like, this Bears defense, man. I have a lot of belief in how the Bears are, like, directionally. They're improving over time. Schatz had a wonderful tweet this week where he said, listen, the Bears are 16th in DVOA. If you look at weighted DVOA, they're 10th, right? Like, we walked into that first Packers game, that first Eagles game. So we said, all right, the Bears have beaten a lot of bad teams in close games. Let's see what they're made of. And okay, they lost to the Packers. Okay, like, they barely snuck, big lucky stuff in the second one. But overall, like, in terms of advanced metrics, this Bears team is very clearly getting better week over week. They're pressuring the quarterback more, right? Austin Booker has added to that pass rush. Jalen Johnson came back. Tremaine Edmonds has come back. Their coverage has been a little bit better. With that said, this is still by any measure recent, season long, just a below average defense in success rate and yards per play and downside conversion rate and in the red zone, except for one thing. They get the goddamn football. And that feels like it's frail. It's got to be frail. It's got to be regression. But the thing about turnovers being so luck oriented is that in any one game, you can still have a 2 turnover game. You still have, even if you've been lucky over the course of the season, it'll regress eventually. But in a one-off against the 49ers, against a quarterback who throws a lot of lollipops over the middle of the field, against an offensive line that gives up a decent amount of penetration, you can get your takeaways. And so for Chicago, like their defense has become very difficult to talk about because it definitely is improving, and they're definitely like, they very clearly are attacking the football at every opportunity. So there is like legitimate skill thing here to talk about. But this entire plane is built out of turnovers, and they need them again against the Niners.
Dude, Malik Willis was moving the ball on them. Like I like Malik Willis. I just, I don't know, improvement. All right. Well, here comes the Niners, and this is our chance to talk about Monday night game. Who, buddy? That offense was a buzzsaw against Indianapolis. So fun. So much to talk about. I mean, Brock Purdy was unbelievable. He was just so accurate throwing downfield, and he has so much conviction we talk about Brock Purdy and what does he bring to the offense. And there's multiple things he does above and beyond other Niners quarterbacks, one of which is a willingness to push the ball downfield, which matters, of course, against Chicago Bears defense that has given up the most deep ball touchdowns of any defense in football, tied for New York 29th in terms of the most 20-yard plus completions. So there you go. And also, his ability to extend plays as well. But, when you watch him play, he just has such conviction in the Kyle Shanahan offense, and then you watch the plays and you're like, yeah, you should. I mean, oh my God, Kyle Shanahan ate Indianapolis's lunch. I just going back and watching him, the way he uses motion, formation to get guys open, but also like Christian McCaffrey on so many of the explosive plays. Even though the Niners aren't, it's funny because they're not a good running team this year.
Not at all.
CMC, it's gone from, and it's funny because, right, we talked about like the old Niners versus the new Niners in ways. It used to be cool. We're a play action passing attack, and we're going to manipulate we're going to manipulate defenses with the run action. And they still do that to some degree, and they hit on like the play action shot to Sky Moore was an example of that. But now it's like, cool. You're terrified of Christian McCaffrey as a pass catcher on literally every down. And if you watch the all 22, if you watch the defense, the way they respond to even the slightest movements from CMC as a pass catcher and the way that opens up things downfield is just incredible.
Yeah. And I remember when McCaffrey first joined the offense in 23 and he started to be really productive as a receiver. And it was like, okay, like this is great. But Breece Hall is also very productive as a receiver this year. Like, there's other guys who do this. If you go and you look at like depth of target and depth of route, there is no running back in the world who operates the way that McCaffrey does. Like the other guys that get targets behind the line of scrimmage, they run after the catch. It's part of like the check down game. They try to get McCaffrey into the stem. They try to get him into the route combinations, because when you give a player like that the ability to run like, the weak side option route, the classic like slot option route, like, the Drew Brees route for 10 billion years. If you play that with just one guy, McCaffrey's going to turn the other direction and he will be open. And so you end up getting a level of gravity. You get a vice, right? You read the squeeze where those two linebackers come down, and now you've lost two bodies in the middle of the field against the GOAT middle of the field opener, right? With all the crossing routes and the dig routes and so on and so forth. But it is the degree to which McCaffrey has gravity when he is vertical off the line of scrimmage. That is not a thing you can say about any other running back in the world right now. Very unique.
Even, going back and I'm just watching so many of the explosives, you can see his gravity on the defense. But even like a play like the Kittle touchdown where Brock's on the right sideline, he's extending, it's great. This is why Brock Purdy is different from Mac Jones. We get that. All he does is looks at McCaffrey during the play. He's rolling to his right, and the safety Cam Bynum's like, oh, and then it makes a window for George Kittle. It's just.
And I have half a theory that because the receivers are banged up, like this was happening last year and this year, defensive coordinators go like, okay, well, like, take away McCaffrey, take away Kittle. And if DeMarcus Robinson beats us, if Kendrick Bourne beats us, they do. It's like, buddy, it could be me and Mina running routes out there for the points. It doesn't matter. All right.
I will say the receivers too, though. They really are well coached on this team. I think that's worth noting too. Sky Moore becoming a productive receiver is hilarious. But Juwan Jennings, Robinson, like
Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah, Kendrick Bourne. The route spacing is always perfect. Like when you watch them, and some of them, it's not like guys are wide ass open. Brock's making like tight window throws downfield, and his placement on outs in this game was excellent. Anyways, all was just to say, I do think San Francisco is going to be able to move the ball on this very gettable Bears defense. But great news, Bears fans. San Francisco can't stop the run. You could throw last night out. I'm not convinced.
No,
I do
no,
not
no.
believe
Every
one bit
team
in
that
this run
plays the
defense.
Phillip Rivers version of the Colts will be able to stop the run because every single team will be like, all right, let's just not let Jonathan Taylor beat us and wait for a third and long. It like Bears offense against 49ers defense is actually officially like hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby. This one I will give you with that for this instance, the Bears' ability to get heavy and run the football like vertically with physicality against a 49ers team that is going to want to stay in the nickel, is going to want to stay in 4 down fronts, and doesn't have good second or third level play in terms of like they have Malik Mustafa, who's like an absolute delight. I love Mustafa, but in general, their ability to play the run through the spine of the defense, defensive tackle to linebacker to safety, it's really it's really rough against these heavy personnel teams. Chicago might be able to put like. I want to say Chicago could possess the ball for 45 minutes, but they won't because they'll hit too many explosives. Like they won't be able to like make the field long enough.
This is what makes this game so hard. Like I think both of these offenses are so much better than both of these defenses. God, this is in San Francisco.
Yeah, Bears are 3-point dogs on the road in San Francisco. It is also a night game, Sunday night game, for those of you playing at home.
I think I'm gonna go Niners here. Bears fans are yours, but Bears. I just picked the Bears to beat the Packers. So.
Expectation is that we should be able to see at least Luther Burden back for this game. He was a little bit touch and go in terms of his availability for the Packers game. Rome is a trickier one. This is a foot injury. It's been described as week to week. In general, when I see foot injury, I 6 to 5 and pick them. Feet can be extremely challenging to deal with. It like your health and you have regressions. Like Brock Purdy of all people should know like how tough those can be. And so if there's no Rome and no Burden, just a lack of pass catching options to me leans 49ers in this game. If we can get at least one of the two back, then we have the ability to get the play action pass a little bit more reliably. I think the 49ers are the better team. I think they win it. The 56 minutes into that game, the Bears had no offensive touchdowns, right? They had operational issues there at home, right? Still in this offense. Caleb, for as delightful as he's been, right? You do get the early throwaways. You do get the early pressures off the left side with Ozzie Trapillo, and it just kind of breaks how beautiful the offensive system is. You can break it at some of the weak points, right? And so I lean 49ers. With that said, this game can absolutely, in a lot of universes, go the way of that Eagles-Bears game, where it's just like, hey, we're going to rush for 286 yards. You have no prayer to stop us. Good night.
Let's have a quick conversation about the Niners, because the 1 seed is in play sneakily. Mm-hmm. And if they win this game, right, and then week 18 is going to be an amazing game. We saw last night, it took Brock a second to get healthy. He's back to playing his best football. He was excellent. Mm-hmm. The offense, even without like Pearsall, buzzsaw. Kyle Shanahan, one of his best games, I thought. Mm-hmm. Is this offense good enough in a flawed playoff field to compensate for what I believe is a really compromised defense, struggles to run defense, pass rush isn't good enough, get a ball in the back end. Okay, I get that's like everything about defense.
Yep.
Think about the field. Can they win? Can they make it to the Super Bowl with that imbalance?
No, I'm a big Niners seller as we go to the postseason. In terms of things I talk about all the time, things I believe come into the postseason, got to be able to rush the passer. And that's like a non-negotiable for me. They don't have that ability. I think you need multiple field tipping players on offense. And I think they do when they have Kittle and McCaffrey. It's obviously a little bit of a weirder build because you're typically expecting that to be the wide receiver spot. But then like the other third enormous tenet for me in the postseason is you got to be multifaceted. You have to be versatile. You cannot have only one mode of winning. And they are not a team that generates defensive stops. And they are not a team that can run the football well and sit on you in the second half. They win one sort of game right now where we are out the gate so fast and so aggressively that we build a point total that you are just not able to bridge, right? And we saw even like in that game against the Panthers, which they won, if you just get like 2 Brock lollipops, which Brock, like I've always been pro Brock, and there was a whole like MVP moment, and like people are like, you hate Brock. Like, no, I've always been like, Brock is like, this is good. He's clearly better than Jimmy. He enhances the offense. Brock, like you said, will throw some tight windows, and he does so without elite velocity. And so you are always liable for like a 2 interception Brock Purdy first half.
Yeah.
If you get that game, like they can throw their way back from a lot of deficits, but it's just their outs are very thin relative to like a Rams and a Seahawks team, which to me are a lot more versatile.
Yeah, you're looking at the Seahawks, Rams, and Eagles defenses, I think, are the ones where you're like, oh, they can get a few stops. Mm-hmm. You start to worry a little bit. Week 18, we can kind of revisit because that's going to be a very good referendum, I think, on this conversation. these teams played in week 1. That was when the Niners defense was healthy.
Yeah.
It's a very different unit. So I am skeptical, but the offense is really good, man.
Yeah. I think that like that most recent memory of that Colts game, like they looked
It's
unstoppable. I think they've been stoppable enough this season that I feel like
the offense.
postseason, offense. Yeah, I feel like the postseason run
Yeah.
is hard to get through. This game against the Bears, I don't
It's
know.
also
Like,
gonna be
and
a
going
little
back to like game
misleading.
script stuff, I can see a lot of worlds where the 49ers are up 14-17, and then the Bears got to throw the way back in. That's scary. Versus the flip side, like even if the Bears get that big lead, like this passing game can do like a 6-play, 90-yard drive on Chicago in a heartbeat. So I still lean 49ers, but I don't know. Chicago is improving. They really, really are.
Yeah, on offense. I'm not buying the
All right. 3 seed Bears or 5 seed 49ers. Who goes further into the playoffs?
Well, so the Niners are playing the Panthers, right? Or the
Right.
Bucks.
I'm just saying like those are most likely outcomes right now. I guess
Yeah.
6 seed Niners.
6 seed Niners.
Yeah.
6 seed
If,
Niners
if we
against
get
3
chalk
seed Eagles.
and the
seems
NFC
like the
playoff
most.
starts, with the 3 seed Bears and the 6 seed Niners, who do you trust more? I think I trust Chicago more to make a run than the 49ers do. Then I trust the 49ers.
I mean, if the Niners, it depends on the matchups. I hate to say that, but
Soft.
that's
Scared to compete.
All right, let's rapid fire the rest of the games as promised. We alluded to Bucks, Dolphins. I mean, this is Quinn Ewers, so I'm taking the Bucks here. A lot of whispers in Miami right now about them moving on from Tua Tagovailoa, keeping McDaniel, which is interesting. Well, I'll react to that when it happens, and I don't think we need to get into the dead money and stuff like that, but Tampa is flailing right now. That defense is really. It's funny because obviously Baker played poorly in the interception, whatever, but the defense is just not good enough at the moment.
No, Tampa's going to win this game because they need to make the Panthers game matter. They're playing Quinn Ewers. They're 100% going to win. With that said, they absolutely could lose any game at any point. I would not be surprised. Like they're a mess right
now. No need to talk Pats Jets. We're both on the Pats, I assume. Yep. We both talked about the Steelers and the Browns. Steelers for me, but the DK injury makes it a little touchy.
I'll pick Browns to differ it. I think that game's going to be tight. It's going to be close. Like classic AFC North winter game, late game in the season, spoiler sort of stuff. I'll pick the Browns.
Bengals, Cardinals. Joe Burrow rediscovered his love of football by stomping the Quinn Ewers Dolphins. Just kidding.
I'm so completely disengaged from this Joe Burrow story, and I will remain so for as long as possible.
Taking the Bengals.
Same.
It's a fun one. Sneakily, Saints, Titans, 2 feisty rookie quarterbacks.
Saints at Titans. Have you seen the line?
Saints are favored. Wow.
2.5.
Talked about, I think you and I did, about how this like Brandon Staley Saints defense is quietly improved.
Yep.
They're better than the Titans defense, that's for sure.
Titans defense is like 8th in pressure rate over the last like month and a half of the season. They're finding some stuff. It couldn't be worse than it was, but it's getting better.
Where they are in DVOA, let's see on the season. What's your guess? Titans defense.
Oh man, 26th.
And what's your guess for the Saints?
18th.
It's a good guess. All right, let's see. The most underwhelming reveal of all time. The Titans are 26th, and the Saints are 13th. Wow.
Man, if I think I'd have been thrilled.
Shout out to Brandon Staley.
Yeah. Doing a lot with a little, man. Kool-Aid McKinstry, Jonas Sanker. Chase Young's having a great season. They're getting the best that they can out of the pieces they've got.
Anyways, I'm taking the Saints here.
I like the Saints here. I will say that I do think the Saints are getting overvalued in the market right now. Like the whole Tyler Shuck offensive rookie of the year. Dude, y'all got to watch the Tyler Shuck film.
No one's saying that.
See, the problem is I run in like gambling circles where everybody's trying to find 5 billion to 1 odds. There are Tyler Shuck rookie of the year believers.
Okay. Well, in the off season, we'll have the time to talk about Tyler Shuck. I think it is notable that he is, the outside of Chris Olave. It's like, he's doing a lot with little. I'm not a believer in the Saints offensive line. I think he has shown enough for Saints fans to feel some enthusiasm about him, especially given the quarterback draft and whatnot. But that's a conversation for another day.
Yes.
And no run. I mean, yeah. Okay. Jags Colts on the Jags here. This is an important game.
Very important game.
We alluded to it.
I'm very curious how up the Colts get for this game. Like they're home again, divisional opponent, but also like the shine is wearing off in this whole like this is fun. Now it's like, oh, this is very sad and pathetic. So I think Jags big, but still weird game.
Raiders Giants. Ugh.
We're the winners of this game. All right, this is for the first overall pick. This is thrilling. The schedule makers are they cook, dude.
Wow, that makes this really hard to pick.
I want to meet the NFL schedule makers so bad. They amaze me every year. This is unbelievable. They banked this week 17. They got the 1 and the 2 overall pick tied for whoever loses this wins the game. It's a crazy call from distance. I'm thrilled for this game.
Friend of the show, Charles McDonald, had a post about like maybe the Giants should consider a quarterback that was aggregated by Yahoo Sports.
Yep.
All right. Oh my God. I mean, I'm gonna pick the Raiders just because I think Pete Carroll will pull a not Lovie Smith. Who was the David, the Texans?
It was Davis Mills playing for the Lovie Smith Texans.
It was Lovie Smith. Okay. Lovie Smith ended up being, okay. What about you?
I also lean Raiders. The Pete Carroll presser at the end where it's gonna be like, any thoughts about like, this game for draft positioning? Pete's gonna be like, men compete, and in the world you gotta care for something. I can't wait. I think the Raiders win.
Mike Kafka is getting the call, fourth quarter, shut it down. And then finally, Rams Falcons. This is the game that matters to the Rams in part because the draft pick belongs to them.
Rams win this big. Yeah. Falcons have like done their best to win these games and make the draft pick hurt less. The Rams are gonna, put it back in the top 10 where it belongs.
Oh, I didn't pick enough underdogs today. But there's nothing. I'm looking back at it.
We didn't do did we do
I would like Carolina to cover.
Did we do the Thursday games? Did we talk Cowboys, Commanders, Lions, Vikings?
Oh, I know. I just picked them on my own. Okay, Dallas Commanders taking the Cowboys here.
Yeah, so the Cowboys are big favorites, and I think the Cowboys probably still win. But Commanders, if Mariota can go, is interesting to me. If it's Josh Johnson and it's Sam Hartman, then not so much.
Lions, Vikings.
McCarthy officially out.
Yeah. So, okay. Then it's the Lions. If McCarthy was playing, this would be compelling to me because I think Brian Flores, I won't say he laid down the blueprint against the Lions because the Lions have been struggling with interior pressure all year, but watching the way Pittsburgh was blitzing Jared Goff and particularly challenging Jahmyr Gibbs in pass protection did take me back to the Brian Flores game against Jared Goff earlier in the season. I have seen a lot of defensive coordinators borrow from that.
Yeah, and even then, like in the running game, they don't even need to because it was like Keanu Benton and Cam Hayward against Kingsley Equilcon and Christian Mahogany left guard. Like the Lions are in dramatic and desperate need of an interior offensive line facelift this offseason. It's one of the biggest gaps on any team, contender or not contender in football right now. Lions win though.
I'll do a pod at some point that's kind of like what is every team that missed the playoffs have to fix. Yeah. And it's pretty glaring with Detroit and pretty obvious. It's sad because it was like kind of like the takeaway from week 1, right? Against Green Bay. That was the game where everybody was like, oh, this is going to be a problem. And then it's kind of how the season ended. The defense actually is more responsible for the final loss, but it remained a problem all year long for Detroit, the pass protection. And not just interior pass protection either, by the way.
Yes, which is the quiet part out loud. Yeah.
What he talks about the left tackle. All right. Denver, Kansas City. Denver favored by 13. They actually want to win this game. So
yeah. And I mean, like, it is the Chiefs with no offensive line against the Broncos and with QB3 Chris Oladokun in this game. Like, this is going to be the worst Chiefs loss of the last 8 years. And that's like the last time they played the Broncos with Carson Wentz, they lost like 34-0, dude. Like it's about to happen again.
All right. That's it for this week. We'll be back to recap with Dominique. We're just going to do a recap. We're not going to just talk about the Rams Falcons game Monday night. And then we'll be previewing the rest of the season. A couple quick notes for everybody. First of all, anyone who listens to the show, you can also check it out on YouTube where we just passed 100,000 subscribers. Yay! Boo-boo-doo-doo. I think they sent you a plaque, so I'm looking forward to
getting yeah? Got a spot for it in the backdrop? You got to get it pictured. Yeah, very nice.
You can also check out my television pod with Dave Dennis Jr. We are recapping the finale of Pluribus. Are you watching the show, Ben?
I'm not watching any shows.
I love it.
I'm watching Miss Rachel, baby. That's what we got going.
We lost a book about Miss Rachel and Elmo. It's like Miss Rachel and Elmo like doing a before school routine, and it is literally like a code red in my house because my kid is so mad about this book being missing. So
We've got
if
a
anyone's
Santa book
listening
in
and
the
wants to
house,
send it to
and
me.
Lydia just keeps pointing at Santa and going, Dad, 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 Dad. And I'm like, nothing alike, man. Nothing at all.
Interesting.
Talk.
A little like. Also, check out the King of Collectibles. It's from Omaha Productions, who makes this podcast, of course. All episodes of season 3 are now out on Netflix, following Ken Golden, who's the most powerful deal maker in the collectibles world as he brokers the biggest, rarest finds. Be sure to check that out, as this season features some really big items. Ben, do you collect anything?
I collect 0 things, but being the most powerful collector in the world, like that, it feels like Ash Ketchum. It feels like Pokemon got to catch them
The
all.
most
He's got a.
powerful
Do you have a
deal
theme music?
maker. I don't know if
Oh,
he's hanging, well, I guess you got to watch the show to find out. So check
yeah.
out I was a big collector as a kid. I collected marbles, seashells, rocks at one point.
Very
big rock
magpie-esque.
collection.
Yeah, just for the nest, just for at home.
Snow globes. Oh, I think I've gotten rid of all of my little tchotchkes. But in any case, check that out on Netflix. And happy holidays, everybody. Thank you so much to everybody who listens to this. Very grateful for you, the best listeners on earth. Thank you also, of course, to our friends at Omaha who make this show: Kirsten Sebecki, Owen Saylor, Tucker Tashton, Jack Foster. You guys are the best, and I'll see you. Will it be in the new year? No, before the new year. Okay, so I'll wish you happy new year later.